Hi guys and welcome to the CPFC podcast with me, your host Alfonso Greenbrook. Today in pod 4 I'll be looking over the result over Tottenham Hotspur in the FA Cup and we'll be discussing the match, player rankings, my man of the match, as well as hearing from what Pardew had to say after the game. So let's begin.
Crystal Palace, where eagles fly. People never gave us a chance, but we proved them wrong. They said we were wasting our time, but we were strong. 'Cause our fans made a winning sound. It was echoing around the ground. Crystal Palace, we passed.
So, it was a lively start to Palace's Emirates FA Cup 5th round clash away to Tottenham Hotspur, with both sides going for it from the off in front of a noisy crowd at White Hart Lane. The relentless noise coming from the Palace fans behind Wayne Hennessey's goal seemed to drive the Eagles on throughout the opening 10 minutes, with the visitors winning several corners early on and causing Pochettino's side's problems. Palace's best chance of these opening exchanges didn't actually involve a player in red and blue. However, as Spurs right back Kyle Walker looped a header over his own goalkeeper, but Michel Vorm reacted quickly to race back and palm the ball over for a corner to Palace. The game remained open for much of the first half, with both sides getting forward and having chances. Heung-min Son was denied by a last-ditch tackle from Damien Delaney in the Palace box, which Dele Alli then followed up, beating Hennessey with a low drive. However, the midfield side-footed effort clipped the far post, rolled across the line and hit the other before Joe Ward thumped it clear. A let-off aside, Palace looked dangerous going forward, with Jordan March and Connor Wickham combining well on the counter in the 35th minute, but Adebayor's shot was blocked at the end of it. A minute into added time, the Eagles got their break they were looking for. Wilfried Zaha found Martin Kelly in space. The right back took a touch and crashed an effort between Vorm and the near post to give Palace the lead going into the break. The second period carried on in the same vein, with both sides getting stuck in and both sets of fans urging their team on. Spurs enjoyed a succession of corners, but Palace looked dangerous on the counter, particularly Zaha, who looked to break forward whenever the Eagles regained the ball. Palace stood firm whenever Spurs threatened, and the Eagles' attack worked tirelessly to carve out chances on the break. Yannick Bolasie was welcomed back from over 2 months on the sidelines with 15 minutes to go. The winger replaced Adebayor on 75 minutes as the away fans sang their appreciations for both the returning number 10 and the former Spurs forward who had been working tirelessly for his time on the pitch. The Eagles' number 10 looked to have settled things with 3 minutes to go. Exploding down the right, he fizzled a ball towards the back post and it was blasted home by Connor Wickham, only for the striker to be flagged up for offside. Admittedly, it didn't matter, as Palace saw the game out and advanced to the quarter-finals of the FA Cup for the first time in 21 years. Now to move on for the player rankings of the game. So Wayne Hennessey in goal, a 7. The Welshman made some fine saves to keep a clean sheet. 2 from Harry Kane in particular were top saves. Just waiting for my computer to load here. Martin Kelly, an 8. His willingness to get into the box late in the first half was rewarded with a ball in from Wilfried Zaha, and his finish was one you expect from a striker, not a fullback. Also, he defended well on his return to the side. Obviously, he came in for the suspended Soiree and actually done pretty well. So, Soiree will, when he comes back from suspension, will find it hard to get back into the squad. Scott Dann, a 6. The centre-back was fairly solid, but not at his usual high standard. Obviously, we kept the clean sheet, so defenders was key in that. Also, Damien Delaney, a 7, helped, obviously you heard in my report, helped keep Harry Kane in check and almost won everything in the air. Impressive from the veteran. Obviously, Delaney captained the side for the game. Now to move on to Joe Ward, who obviously played on the left as Martin Kelly came in at right back. A 6 for Joe Ward. Was asked to play at left back due to Papa Suarez's suspension and did a solid job, although he didn't get caught out at times, which is expected for a player out of position. And obviously last season he did play there when it was Ward on the left and Kelly on the right, obviously when under the Warnock time when we didn't have Papa Suarez. Yohan Cabaye, a 7. The Frenchman was at his usual best in terms of passing and commitment to win the ball back. Obviously a pretty good game for Yohan Cabaye, not one of his better games, but an average performance which you would expect from someone of his calibre. Joe Ledley came in for Mile Jednak, a 6 for Joe Ledley. Not the prettiest display from Ledley. He struggled to get into the game, but still showed his usual character and work rate. And obviously, that did obviously help us in the game. He obviously helped with the counter-attack by passing the ball out to Much and Connor Wickham, obviously. And obviously now to move on to Jordan Much, who actually he's played really well considering since he's coming, obviously, to replace Balassi on the wing. So Jordan Much is 7. We've not seen the stats, but it's fair to say Much covered a lot of ground. His early challenge on Kyle Walker set the tone, but that's not to take away from his quality with the ball too. Some of his passes were top class, and obviously he played in the middle, a central role which Puncher will normally play, as well as playing out wide, so very adjustable he can play, so many positions he can play. Now Wilfried Zaha, who was actually in contention, one of my contestants, for man of the match, along with Martin Kelly. And obviously Zaha was a constant menace, and Danny Rose's legs were tired after running. He had to, obviously, as he had to cover the winger. Set up a goal with a lovely run and also worked hard to track back when needed. And obviously something that Kelly done as well. He done the opposite. He was able to defend but also got up when he needed to. Now Connor Wickham, a 7. Wickham occupied the Spurs defence well. He didn't start off too well but grew into the game, and his power was a major asset for Palace. And obviously he did score, but it was classed offside. But like it said there, a very powerful striker. He's got a very powerful foot at the minute. Now to move on to the ex-Spurs man, Emmanuel Adebayor. The booing from the Spurs fan didn't seem to bother the experienced striker, who played really well on his return to White Hart Lane. And I was going to put him in one of my contestants for man of the match, but from what I've heard, he played really well, but he weren't one of these standout players. And obviously, there are a few bench players. Balassi came on. Balassi played really well. Obviously, he had that chance where he was running down the right-hand side, crossed the ball into Wickham. So I'm going to give Balassi on his return to the side a 6. Obviously, played quite well. And also, Mile Jednak came on for Johan Kabay. Obviously, Johan Kabay did get a yellow card in the second half, so that was to make sure he wouldn't get suspended. Jednak didn't really do well, but he was there to cover the backs. Obviously, of the players, make sure that they couldn't get through and we could keep the clean sheet. So for Mile Jednak, probably a 6 again, sort of average performance, which you would expect of him. And obviously, there you have it. So that was my match review and my player rankings. Now I'm going to explain to you my man of the match. So I had 2 contestants for man of the match this week. I had Martin Kelly, obviously scored the goal, and also Wilfried Zaha was the best attacking option we had. And it's quite a hard decision, really, because although Martin Kelly got the goal, Wilfried Zaha and Much, for example, were really good on the counter. But I'm going to give it to Martin Kelly because it's his first goal in 4 years as a player, but also his first goal in the year he's been at Palace, which is good. Hopefully he can score more of them. But also, like I've said in the player rankings, he was able to defend well, but also get forward as well. And obviously that resulted in him getting the goal. So there you have it. That was my podcast review. Now you're going to listen to what Pardew had to say after the game.
Well, I said to the players, look, in recent results, we've obviously been a bit down on ourselves and got a bit stressful in games, which I think has been part of the reason we haven't had a result. Cup's different though; it's different kind of take on the game. But we can still have the best season Crystal Palace ever had in the Premier League. We can still finish higher than 10th. That was our best last year. We can do that, but we're in the quarterfinals of the Cup. So at the start of the season, if you'd have offered me that, I would have took it. If you'd have offered it me Christmas, I don't know, because we was in a great position. So, but that's the Premier League. It's unrelenting and it's unforgiving. We had a lot of injuries, and it's cost us important points in the league. But we know next week is as important game as this game. The West Brom, Sunderland and Liverpool. It's a big week for us. We need to get 4 points for sure. If we get 4 points, we can really go forward and enjoy the quarter-final.
An unlikely match winner in Martin Kelly. A great story, though.
Yeah, it is. And we learned some lessons from the 2 Tottenham games before. We changed our shape today so we didn't get pushed back so far. But in doing that, we had to release our fullbacks to get forward, and to get that goal at 44 minutes from a fullback shows the kind of intent that we had. we hummed and hawed about whether to play Martin left or right back today, and unfortunately we made the right call on that because it was a great finish.
Yannick Delassie back
Yeah.
fit for you again, and he doesn't look as if he's lost any of his pace, judging by what happened near the end.
No, of course he isn't going to lose pace, but his first run is different to any training ground work you can do. I could see he was really breathing hard. It's difficult to get the speed of a Premier League game, but he's massively important. The fact that he was on the bench today, I think, give everyone a boost. And this week we had in Spain, seeing a bit of his exuberance lifted everybody. There's no doubt about that. He's a big player for us.
Do you see the cup opening up for you in a sense, in that Tottenham are now out, and obviously one from Chelsea, Manchester City have got to go as well?
Yeah, well, I mean, the draw's important, of course. It's not been kind to us. Southampton away, Stoke at home, and Tottenham away. It takes some doing. So, but when it hit the post and then it hit the other post, you need a bit of luck in this competition. I know that down the years. So we had that today, and hopefully that touchwood stays with us.
And then you took the players away for a week. You know, reminiscent of 1990. Are you getting that feeling again?
Well, you know, I think it's something that when we did it and got to the final in 1990, which seems like a lifetime ago, we did that, and I just thought it might be nice. But it was important, I think. The timing of it was good anyway, because the league form, we needed to kind of sit ourselves down and go, you know, it ain't been that bad. Let's kick on now with these final 12, 13 games we've got left. And I think the guys showed today they were resilient. We defended well, which you have to do at Spurs, and we broke well. And second half, if I'm honest, I was surprised that we handled that so well. We really did well second half.
Alan, the cup takes a bit of stick sort of down the years, doesn't it? And particularly this season. What does it mean for you and for Crystal Palace, and particularly the fans out there today?
I think you got to remember that when we got to the final in 1990 and we was in the old First Division, which of course all that gets scrubbed away, the cup gained us probably more fans in that 1990 Cup run than at any other time, and they've stayed with us. So we kind of carrying people a lot of fans who've got great history of it, even though we never won it, ironically. So we carry that forward, and for me and Steve and our new owners, you know, it's about building a club, and we mustn't get ahead of ourselves. People were talking about Europe and stuff like that, and we didn't dismiss it, but you know, there's some very, very big clubs in the Premier League, and we're trying to build our club, and a great cup run to the semi-final, to the final, can gain you support and build you as a club, and that's what we're trying to do.
Does it seem to often lift you during the season as well? Because it sometimes can regain a bit of momentum like it might do today.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, I genuinely think it does. And I've seen it in players. I said to the players in the dressing room, you won't know the effects and the impact the FA Cup has until you reach quarter-final, semi-final, final. Then you understand this competition and the romance of it. So we're looking forward to it, and we're hoping that draws kind in a minute.
There was a lot of fuss about Eddie Boyle before the game. How did you think he played today and handled the situation?
Well, I thought him and Connor, we tried to just leave them as safety valves for us, but give us an outball, and I thought he did terrific on the outball at times today. His final pass, his final moment was perhaps could have been slightly better, but his hold-up play was terrific, and you know, he's brought an experience and a kind of calmness to some of our offensive play, and the lads are learning off him. There's no doubt about that. They are. He's been a real credit to the football profession and everything he's done so far. I can't only be honest and say that.
So there, now you've heard what Pardew had to say, that concludes my match review of Crystal Palace versus Tottenham, or Tottenham Hotspur versus Crystal Palace if you want to be pedantic. But make sure to come back next week for my pre- and post-match review of Crystal Palace versus West Bromwich Albion, or West Brom versus Crystal Palace if you want to be pedantic again. So thanks for watching, and remember to up the Palace.
South London!